Hello, great thinkers. How is everybody doing today? I know you can't voice that opinion out loud, but I hope you're doing great today. I am super excited about today's webinar. We have been receiving so many questions, hundreds and hundreds of questions from people on how to think great, how to act great during all of the chaos. And I know that for some people, this has been a tough day. You know, for some states, we have heard that the stay-at-home orders are extended. I know here in Minnesota, we just had it extended to the, let's see, May 18th, correct? So, you know, we are living in an environment where there are so many variables right now, and things are moving and shaking all the time. And so let me just start by saying, no matter what challenge you face, leadership is the solution. And no matter what question you have, leadership is the answer. Now, that's not the direct answer you need for all of your questions. But what I am seeing more every single day is the need for leaders to rise up, the need for leaders to raise the bar. We need to raise the bar on our communication. We need to raise the bar on our engagement, our empowerment. This is when our teams need us the most. And it is just a common challenge across the board, around the world, just like all of the questions that we're getting, is this common theme. And it has nothing to do, or very little to do, with processes. The majority of the questions coming through to us are about the people. And what's great about everybody on this call and all the questions that we've had, it shows that you care about your people, your teams, your organizations from the people standpoint. So one of the things that this has led me to do is decide on what the next topic is for the next webinar. And we're going to announce that date soon. We don't have it locked in. We have been ramping up and doing much, much more on the virtual training side for our clients all over the world. And we want to make sure we have a great date set up so we can get as many people on this webinar as possible. But we're going to be talking about how to strengthen our pillars up, our pillars of leadership and strategic planning and sales. And so we're gonna focus on that, because the questions that are coming in really seem to revolve around leading, planning, and selling. And so even though they're asked in many, many different ways, we know that people need to strengthen the 3 pillars of business greatness. And we're committed to delivering a webinar on that, to give you some techniques on that. But just like we did a couple weeks ago with our questions through chaos, I want to jump right into some of the questions. I appreciate the in-depth questions you have. We also had some pretty humorous questions too, and I'll try and get to a few of those. But let me just start off with this question. You know, as this situation continues, and this question comes to us from Texas, but as this chaos continues, the situation that we're in continues, how do we identify new goals and stay productive? So that question came in many, many forms, but I'll ask it in that way, and I'll answer it like this. I would go to the people that surround you, your team members. I would start to talk about goals now. I would start to ask the questions about the short-term goals and the long-term goals, because both are needed for success during and after this epidemic. And so the thing that I would start to focus on for every leader on this call is start to ask the questions of your teams, what goals are most important? The reason that we want to focus on goals is goals cause us to look up from the present. And the present right now can be very challenging and then very stressful and frustrating for a lot of people. So when we ask about a goal, we cause people to look into the future. Now, with every goal that you set, there will be actions that need to happen in order to accomplish that goal. That's how we stay productive. And then, of course, we can tie that all in with accountability and start to have the dialogue with our people about goals and the actions necessary to accomplish those goals. Goals give hope. They provide meaning and understanding and direction. They give stability. Many leaders are going to put the goals to the back burner during the chaos and wait till it's over to see what happens, and then maybe start their goals. If you're on this call, start setting new goals. Absolutely, right now with your team, set new goals. Question number 2. and again, I'm going to combine some questions here, but what are the best things to do right now if you're in sales? Oh, that's a great question. You see, sales is the lifeblood of every business. I would say that one of the best things to do right now is assess the questions that you're asking your clients. You may need new questions during this new norm, during this new situation. The questions that worked before may not work. And so we may need to ask questions that are more relevant to the situations that our clients are going through. And I want you to think about something with these questions. The better your questions are, the better their answers are. The better your questions are, the more likely they are to stay with you. And so from a sales perspective, I know one thing for certain. Every client you have is making the decision right now if they stay with you or if they go to a competitor. If your competitor is asking that prospect of theirs, your client, a better question than you are, you could lose them. So I would say really focus on the questions that you're asking. Get your team rallied around this. Collaborate with your sales team to establish some new best practice questions from a sales perspective. You know, what you're asking them right now during COVID-19 and afterwards. And then some of the questions I would ask is how are they perceiving the new norm? What do they need from you? All right, here we got a question from California. What is the most important thing that I would do today? All right. Boy, there is a lot of things to do today. You know, studies show that we make 35,000 decisions every single day. It's a lot of decisions. But if I were to say what thing could we all do from this call today, is I would answer this question. How can we be greater? How can we be greater? Ourselves personally, our teams, and our businesses. This one question will engage every single person on your team. It'll empower your leaders. It'll give us focus. You see, when we have chaotic situations like this, people start to think about things. And I want to challenge you to identify that level of greatness. Why I like this question so much is because when we talk about the 3 pillars of business greatness, our ability to lead, plan, and sell, those 3 pillars support a level of greatness that we need to achieve. If I were to ask you, how many of you feel your businesses can be greater, how many would say yes to that? But most people aren't asking that question right now. This is the greatest time to ask that question. The number one thing we can do right now is identify how we can be greater. And from that, creating that big picture, that greater purpose of what we are as an organization, as a team, is going to give relevancy to everything that we're doing. Okay, next question. Oh, I like this one. It really ties in with the greatness side. Here we got one that comes, so this one comes to us in a couple different forms, but I'll sum it up. And so we got it from Ohio and from Florida. Is it possible to transform your business or your business model during this time? I would say that if we're not transforming our business, we're missing the boat right now. This is the optimal time to transform. And this goes back into that level of greatness. You're going to start to see how a lot of these questions interconnect. So the transformation of your business right now, this is the perfect opportunity to slow down in order to speed up. To get with your people and say, what transformations can we make to become more relevant and more meaningful in the new norm? I know your question, what if we don't know the new norm? We don't know exactly what the new norm will look like, but we have an idea of it. We, for starters, know that we're going to be more virtual than ever before. We will have a more balanced schedule of live versus virtual settings. And so to transform your business model, this is where you really have to get with your key people, your leaders, and start to ask that question of what shifts can we make right now? You know what I found is that the greatest transformations may come from the smallest enhancements. And so there can be some slight shifts that you make. And that actually leads into another question. And here's one we have from Washington. Is it okay to adjust your goals during times like this? All right. You know, I wrote a book called The Goal Formula. I teach leaders how to set goals. It's chapter 3 of my book. I talk about setting sales goals. Inside my strategic planning book, it's all about goals. We call them flight levels. Big fan of goals. Goals help to guide us. They provide inspiration. They provide hope. Can we adjust them? Yes. The biggest thing that I would adjust on a goal is the date. I think that some goals need to move into this position and some goals need to move back to this position. And let me give you an example. We knew that our goal was to go virtual, to do online training and development sessions, online coaching, online keynotes. That's been our goal for a while. The date on that goal was further out. COVID-19 caused us to adjust that goal. And here we are doing a webinar with people who have submitted questions from all around the world. Why? We adjusted our goal. Not the finality of the goal, not what the goal looked like at the end, but when it would occur. I wouldn't necessarily toss goals out or cancel goals, but if you adjust them, I would adjust the ETAs, the estimated time of accomplishment for your goals. So it's completely okay to adjust those. Another one for me was I was in the process of writing a book. When I spoke with clients, asked questions on what they needed the most, they needed more from me on sales. And so I moved the date on the new book and attached a sooner date, a closer date on my revision for my sales book. From that sales book, we launched it. We created a new program, a new 4-part series. Now that other book is back in there with a new completion date, a new ETA, if you will. So it's okay to adjust. I think that you should, but you should also talk to your team about it. Communication during this time period is critical. If you're going to shift things around, keep your people informed. And also ask them for some input on these dates. This is a great way to start to unify your team. Let them be part of the solutions during any of the transformations, during any of the enhancements to make you greater, during any of the steps taken for goals. Let them be a part of that. We don't want to miss this opportunity that COVID's providing us. Ooh, did he just say opportunity? I did. I know that there's challenges out there because of COVID, but there's also opportunities, and especially internally in our own organization. There's external opportunities too, but there's a lot of internal ones. Okay, next question. Oh, I like this one. What do you do when you run out of work for people? I would set new goals. You see, every goal takes a certain amount of actions. So when we set new goals, short-term and long-term, and both are necessary, because listen, if you're going to fly the plane, if your business is going to elevate, you want to have both wings operational, right? Short-term and long-term. It'd be weird to fly a plane or be in a plane that only had one wing. That doesn't make any sense. Your short-term goals are really necessary, but so are your long-term goals. Get people to think about both. You see, your long-term goals provide direction and meaning and understanding. They give your team a greater purpose of why your organization exists, these 3 to 5 year goals. And I know they can seem hard to set right now. That's why we want to create a collaborative, innovative, out-of-the-box think tank environment where people can talk about the future. We can put COVID-19 over here for a little bit and talk, because we're just inundated with COVID-19. How many people are tired of hearing about COVID-19 right now? Yeah. Okay, there we go. Yeah, hands going up. Me too. It's not going away, not yet. It will go away, but your goals need to be set. So if you're looking for work to do, these short-term goals, give them some immediate actions to take. It also creates high levels of energy. Some of the goals that I would set, if I were you, I would set goals on workflow enhancements. How can we have a better workflow? Maybe you don't have an identified workflow. You can get them. Maybe you need to add some policies and procedures for when people come back from COVID-19. That's great actions that people can take. Perhaps you need to create those new questions, involve people in that. Maybe you need some systems and processes in place that don't exist. You can create that. Maybe you need to shift schedules or budgets, enlist the help of people with these things. Perhaps you just need a contacting campaign to reach out to existing clients and check in on them. Perhaps you have some prospects. These are all things that your team can start to work on. Most people want to be part of the solution. Most people want things to do. All right, let me add in I'll add in a little humor question. I was asked, what is my favorite movie? If you know me, even from high school, you already know the answer to this. I'm a huge Arnold Schwarzenegger fan. I'm not saying I ditched high school to go see him get his star on the Walk of Fame. I'm not saying I did that. It might have happened. I might be guilty of that. But my all-time favorite movie is the original with him, Conan the Barbarian. That's my original all-time favorite Arnold movie. So I'm not sure if that helps you through the crisis, but hopefully it gives you a good laugh. Okay. So here's a great question. How can we encourage people to think outside of the box during this time period? Now, this question came in many forms. How can we encourage people to collaborate? How can we encourage people to innovate or think outside of the box? It's really saying the same thing. This is where you need to enlist the help of your people. And we need to share what our vision is first. We have to share the vision of our organization. So if you do not have a vision statement, this is the perfect time to create one. Your vision statement is who you will become, different than a mission statement, which is who you are and what you need to accomplish right now. You see, for us at Think Great, our mission is to create a wave of dynamic thinking that empowers business leaders and individuals to set and accomplish goals no matter what circumstances they face. We are committed to doing that every day, but our vision is different. Our vision is that we will lead the worldwide people movement. And what's critical about that is it says worldwide. You see, that's who we're going to become. We will be that leader in personal and professional development. This morning, I had a conference call with an organization in Canada with over 60 business leaders in Canada, and we discussed leadership. 45 minutes of leadership, presentation and Q&A. It was awesome. But that fits in with our vision. So that was action that we took. It is extremely important to get people to think outside of the box. You see, right now, inside the box is during this COVID-19 time. Here we are. Outside of the box is the transition back to the new norm and further down the road. And this is so critical. Leaders, share vision, share greater purpose with your team so that they can help think about those ideas to get you there. Okay, I love this question here. All right, now let me make sure I know where it's coming from. All right, so got a great one here from Minnesota. I'm going to read it exactly as it says. What is the best way to recreate a high-performance team out of the gate upon reopening? How many of you are looking to have your team become that high-performance team again as soon as everything is getting back to normal, as soon as the doors open and we can reopen, right? Yeah, we want to create that. So here's a couple thoughts on that. To recreate that. For starters, if you had a high-performance team, you still have one. You still have one. That's like having a high-performance vehicle in a race car. Just because it stopped doesn't mean it's not a high-performance vehicle anymore. This is about re-engaging the engine. This is about firing the engine up. Here's the best part about high-performance teams. High-performance team members, like myself, thrive in this type of environment. Why? We want the challenge. I don't like the bad side effects of it, but this is when I get to show who I really am. And so leaders, this is important here. You can start to fire that engine back up. You can start to create that high octane fuel for your team by sharing vision, getting the long-term goals set, focusing on short-term goals, getting people to take action, and most importantly, your enthusiasm level will spread like wildfire. Enthusiasm, not only is it one of the 14 leadership traits I learned in the United States Marine Corps, but it is one of the most critical things that we need right now. How many of you, just a show of hands, would love to see enthusiasm shoot through the roof through all of your ranks right now? Every team member, how'd you like to create higher levels of enthusiasm? That's right. Yes. This is what we need to shoot for. It's in the leadership traits for the Marine Corps for one reason and one reason only. The stuff that they do, the situations that they go through, the chaos that they go into could deprive them of their enthusiasm, but it doesn't. They have the highest levels of enthusiasm. Why? It's a leadership trait. We start focusing on that. The best way to recreate that high performance team is to get high levels of enthusiasm injected back into them. But it starts with us as leaders first. They have to hear it. They have to feel it from us. All right. All right, I'm going to throw, since we're on the media side, here's one that came in. What's my favorite TV show? Jeez, that's a tough one. All right, I'm going to break it up into two categories for you because I feel this answer is extremely important. Going back to the 80s, of course, sorry, but I'm going to give you an action one and a comedy one. My all-time favorite from a comedy standpoint was Three's Company. And how many, any thumbs up on Three's Company out there? Anybody like Three's Company? Yeah, okay, there they go. There you go. All right, well, let me see how many hands we get up on this one. Now, this may be my all-time favorite show, but I love Three's Company, but the A-Team. I watched the A-Team religiously. Yeah, there they go, some hands going up, right? All right. How about some hands going up? How many have ever tried to speak like Mr. T? All right, we could all use a little Mr. T right now. I pity the fool that succumbs to COVID-19. Hey, listen, this is all about mindset. That's what this is. Nobody on this call is probably going to find the cure for COVID-19, but you will find the cure for disengagement. We all have a role to do as leaders, which leads me to my next question. I really like this one. Let me see if I can figure out where this one came from. Somewhere in the United States. All right, so somebody didn't give me the state. How do I become a better leader? What a great question to ask during this time period. I've got some thoughts for you. If we peel all the layers back, leadership is the people business. So to become a better leader means that we are looking out for our people. There's a couple ways of doing that. The first one is we have to have some empathy on them right now. Many people are being hit in many different ways through this whole crisis. Call and check in on your people, and you probably are. If you're asking that question, if you're on this call, you're already a great leader. But I know what you're saying. You want to be better. You want to be greater. Check in on your people. Here's another thing you can do to be a great leader. Schedule some one-on-one time, maybe a Zoom call with them. Have a Zoom coffee with them, or a WebEx coffee, or a virtual coffee, if you will. Have a virtual lunch with them. Show them that you care. You know, that's an interesting word. When a lot of people leave a company, and people will leave organizations, it's already happening, and more of it will happen as we get back to the new norm. Most people will leave because they don't feel that people care. So leaders either raise the bar and people step out, or they lowered the bar and people step out. And what I mean by raising the bar is raising the bar on performance and accountability. You'll lose some people. If you lower the bar on empathy and care, you'll lose some people. Leadership is about having balance. As you're checking in on your team, find out the challenges that they're facing. We have to ask the question, how are they doing? You know, I had an interesting leadership discussion yesterday. We host a program called the Leadership Link. We had 20 leaders on the call from different companies. And it was amazing how many of them are parents who have become part-time teachers in the home, right? They're filling in, right? They're helping their kids. How many of you are part-time teachers now that your kids are doing school from home? Yeah, right? We're helping them out in different ways. So how else can we be a greater leader? We have to share that vision for the future and our belief that things will go back to a new norm. Notice I didn't say the norm, but a new norm. Okay, we owe it to them to have that belief level. We have to muster up our energy. The other thing, leaders, is absolutely 100%. Stop focusing on the small things. Every time there's a new, newscast or something about COVID, don't freak out. Let the dust settle. Some of you may only be focused on COVID. There's a lot of other things going on that we need to concern ourselves with. We need to focus on the team, our clients, our organization, becoming greater. All right, let me see, I've got a couple of questions coming in right now. Any best practices for daily scheduling from working from home? Yes, yes. There's three different actions that happen every day in every business. There's negative actions, there's important tasks, and there's priority objectives. Your outs, your ins, and your ons. Here's what I'm going to recommend. We know we're not doing any outs. We're not wasting time. We're not being negative. We're not focused on small things. So we're working on important things, and we're working on priority things. Schedule your priorities. Schedule the things first that make your business greater, that yield the greatest results for you. Too many people schedule, well, I'll check my email. You should check your emails anyways. What calls need to be made? In other words, what are the greatest strides you can make today? So schedule your priorities. The important things tend to fall into place. If we only focus on the important things, we miss out on the priorities. Schedule your opportunities. How to go get those. Great question, by the way. I know working at home can present a number of challenges. I know it's not easy, but remote working has been happening for a long, long time. In fact, it's been happening in the military forever. There's remote workers. They're called recruiters. But you know what's interesting about that? They're constantly brought back together through these things called all-hands meetings. Okay, now right now they're happening virtually. But the team is only as strong as how often they are gathered. So make sure that we're having these virtual one-on-ones with our teams, and also make sure that we're having the virtual team meetings too. All right. Boy, time flies when we're asking and answering great questions. Okay, here's a phenomenal question. Maybe some of us can relate to this. Okay, let me make sure. Okay, so we got another one here from California. How do we remain calm when the world is in chaos? Well, phenomenal question. There are two things that you can control. You can always control your thoughts, and you can control your actions. You can make the decision to think great. If you lose your positivity, if you lose your calmness, if you lose your bearing, you can get it back. It was your choice to lose it. It can be your choice to get it back. Right now, the biggest thing that will help you stay calm is your belief level. Believe that this will end. If you're doubting it, then believe me when I say this. I am 100% certain that this will end, and that we will come out on the other side greater than when we started. So if you're doubting it yourself, at least believe in me. That's another way, because we had a question, how can you keep your morale up with the team? How can you stay focused? This is what we have to do. It's our belief level. This is what drives me every day. It drives me not just to think about making $1, but making an impact. This is the opportunity we have. All right, here's a really, really phenomenal question. How will we know if our business is ready to go back into the new norm? All right. This one question really started me thinking a lot more about launching this new webinar on the 3 pillars of business greatness. And so I want to bring it all home with respect to your time today. I want you to think about this. If your business, your goals, your level of greatness is supported by 3 columns, 3 pillars: leadership development, strategic planning, and sales performance. It's critical that you assess each pillar. Find out how strong they are. What we're finding during this chaos is that some of the pillars weren't as strong as leaders had hoped, and they're seeing some things start to crumble. You have to assess how strong your leadership development program is, how strong your leaders are. Are they performing as leaders? Ask this question. If one of your leaders was accused of being a leader, is there enough evidence to convict that leader of being a great leader? They have to take leadership actions. You need a plan. You 100% need a strategic plan right now. Why? All of the goals, 10% of the questions that I'm looking at right now, 10% of them involve goals. Another 15% involve how to stay on target with your goals. Goal setting. Almost 25% of all questions submitted involve goals in some capacity. We need a plan because the plan houses our goals. And sales. Refine your sales system, refine your sales questions, and re-engage your salespeople to be there not just to make a dollar, but to make an impact in their clients. All right, let me see here. All right, so there's a few questions I'll get to that were just submitted in right now. All right, what are several points on starting new business relationships remotely versus in person? Well, for starters, if we can get them into a Zoom setting, we at least have a little bit of the feel of the face-to-face. So really get familiar with Zoom or WebEx or GoToMeeting, whatever your platform is, get familiar with that. Be more personable and be more direct too. Just because you have an hour meeting doesn't mean you need to take the whole hour, okay? I think that you need to be very relevant on these calls. People are looking for answers. They are setting up times to meet with us to get to know us, who we are. And be aware of this. If they take a Zoom or a virtual call with you, there's a high likelihood they're going to take it from your competitor too. So make sure that you're comfortable in front of the camera, but try and do as much face-to-face virtually as you can. And don't be afraid to ask them, how is COVID-19 impacting your business? Is there anything I can do to help support you and your goals during this time period? All right, let me see here. What are some examples of working in versus working on? Okay, that's an awesome one. So you want to look at in are important tasks. These things need to get done. On are priority objectives. These move your business upward. These move your business forward. We want to elevate our business. So an in may be checking emails. Has to be done. And on is scheduling your day out so you have blocks of time to contact certain people. It's not enough just to go through the emails. Who do you need to contact? And on could be some of the proposals. On is anything that makes your business greater. On could be setting new goals. On could be working on those goals. On could be the development of your team, developing them to think and act like leaders. You see, in is very much training. On is development. You need both. But the training keeps you moving forward. The development allows you to move upward. I was an air traffic controller in the Marine Corps. I was trained as an air traffic controller. I was developed to think and act like a leader so I could help elevate my team, elevate the organization. All right. So I just want to say thank you for joining me today. I want to thank you for all of the questions. I also want to apologize for not being able to get through them all. If I went through all the questions we have, we'd have to have a 24-hour webinar. So keep an eye out. We will be connecting with you. We're going to let you know about our 3 pillars of business greatness. Webinar will be coming up soon, how to strengthen your pillars through chaos. I'm extremely excited about that. I love the content in there. You're going to love it for your teams too. As you know, we've recorded this webinar, so you will be able to pass this on to your team so they can hear this. Please continue to have the questions come in. The more questions you submit, the more we will have our questions through Chaos webinar. If you're a leader on this call today, make an impact. Show someone the appreciation that you have for them. Hey, don't forget, think great and make an impact. Thanks so much for joining us.